So, folks, we have to talk about what the Trump administration is doing to attack children. Now, a lot of folks out there might not be aware because, most people aren't trans, but trans kids in particular have been the subject of heinous attacks by conservatives for a decade now. Like, it has been truly, truly gross. This all began because a man by the name of Christopher Rufo, who is essentially the GOP's think tank for coming up with new things to potentially attack the country with, decided that trans children in sports would be a defining issue for the next decade. And to his credit, he's good at what he does. He was right. People have taken to that wedge issue and hammered it and hammered it and hammered it, and it has now gotten to the point where it is going to get trans kids killed. And what I mean by that is that the Trump administration announced that their Health and Human Services division will be taking the nuclear option of trying to eliminate all gender-affirming care for minors at the federal level. Now, it is worth noting, before we get too deep into this story, that this approach appears to be illegal in numerous different ways. However, they are still going to try to do it. Now, their mode of attack is by trying to weaponize Medicaid. Specifically, they are going to tie any facility, any institution that receives Medicaid money from the federal government and say, if you receive this Medicaid money, you cannot perform gender-affirming care of any kind on minors. And that deprives them of life-saving interventions. It's gonna get kids killed. Now, of course, this intervention doesn't affect gender-affirming care for cisgender children. And their new approach doesn't specifically cite gender-affirming care by name. Instead, they refer to gender-affirming care as sex rejection procedures. So they're trying to, by fiddling with the terminology, by playing a little game of semantic shell game, they're trying to get this through to make it seem like they're not discriminating against trans kids. They're only preventing sex rejection procedures, which are a totally new thing, unrelated to gender affirming care. I think that it's really difficult here to emphasize how utterly and completely deranged these people are that are pushing this and are spearheading this. Because I think to call them demons would be perhaps an understatement. And like, I don't believe in demons, but if they were real, these men would be demons. And I just want to play this clip. This is Dr. Oz coming out and talking about the genitals of trans children.
Vaginoplasty, a procedure a child does not need, costs $60,000. Shockingly, a phalloplasty, the creation of a penis, costs on average in America, according to this data, high quality, $150,000 per child. I do believe, with doing some work, that these prices have continued to increase with increasing manufactured demand. And I must point out that the creation of a vagina, in that case of a phalloplasty, or a scrotoplasty where you add testicles, that's extra. Vagina.
Children aren't getting bottom surgery. In the United States, you cannot get bottom surgery unless you are 18 years old, or there are some extraordinary extenuating circumstances. This attack on trans children is entirely based on an obsession with the genitalia of children. It's gross. It's disgusting. Yeah, no, he's not talking about adults in that clip. He's trying to say trans kids are all grifting off the system to get these highly expensive procedures to give themselves vaginas and penises and testicles. And like, I'm sorry, this is just not happening. To the extent that like any of this is real, it's not happening. Outside of perhaps one or two extremely isolated incidents. Some very marginal cases. And they obsess constantly over it. It's crazy. We just did a story the other day, by the way, that these very same guys who obsess over trans kids and trans kids' genitals and want to know what kind of genitals are in those kids' pants all the time are coming out in favor of HRT, hormone replacement therapy. They're all about hormone replacement therapy for men if they're over the age of 60 and their testosterone is in decline. So when it comes to cisgender people, these guys love the very same medical interventions that are made available to trans people. They love them. I guarantee you. People like Joe Rogan, people like perhaps Dr. Oz himself, they're taking like HRT. And not only that, but like cis women also are getting HRT for post-menopause. The thing about this is they are all about every single one of the medical interventions available and pursued by trans people, but they wish to deny trans people the freedom to get those interventions. It is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Because you know none of these regulations, none of these pushes that they're making are going to affect cisgender people. None of them. And like, oh, you're a balding man? Oh, you know, maybe some hormone therapy will fix that. Well, that'll set it right. Oh, hey, are you a short child? Well, haha, if you're cisgender, let's get you on some hormones. That'll sort you right out. Like, if you're cisgender, you can get hormones as a kid. You can get, you know, the same, like, you can get puberty blockers as a kid. If you're cisgender, they'll give you anything. But if you're trans, nothing. No, if you're trans, they want to treat you like you're a demon. Like you are an abomination. And I'm not just picking those words at random. Those are words that have been used against me as an adult woman. But guess what? They're using that same language for children. This is a coordinated assault on kids and children's rights by the richest and most powerful government that has ever existed on the face of the earth against the most vulnerable people that exist in our society. Yeah, Amber Brains in chat is saying, it's me. I take HRT for surgical menopause. Also note, they want to take that away too. It's true. They do also want to discriminate against women who are getting HRT for surgical menopause or menopause in general. That is true. They also want to discriminate against cis women. This is all kinds of fucked up is what it is. It is extraordinarily fucked up. That is the technical term for it. Yeah, no, men are going and getting gender affirming care that like breaks their leg bones systematically in order to add like an inch or two of height. My friend's mom takes HRT for menopause as well. Yeah, people do it all the time, but it's a problem when it's trans folks. When it's trans folks, you need to dedicate national level resources to making sure it doesn't go through. Now, this would restrict puberty blockers. This would restrict hormone replacement therapy. This would restrict surgical interventions. This would prevent any kind of facility. So basically, any hospital that gets Medicare or Medicaid funding, any medical facility that takes Medicaid or Medicare, would be unable to provide this type of medical intervention for trans kids. I got HRT as a cis minor, says Hila. It's in their press statement today, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the guy who has overseen an over 14,000% increase in the cases of measles as the health secretary, says that that gender affirming care for minors is not medicine, it is malpractice. Despite the findings of every major reputable medical organization on the planet, not just in the United States, on the planet. This is why conspiracy theories are so dangerous, though, folks. This is why conspiratorial, anti-empiricist thinking is so dangerous, especially in medicine. Because it doesn't matter what the empirical results of decades upon decades upon decades of study have been, when your counter-argument that you think is of equal weight and value is whatever the fuck you pulled out of your ass. Now, thankfully, here, the ACLU is immediately upon the conclusion of that press conference earlier today, the ACLU is challenging the Trump administration's effort to ban gender-affirming care. So, this is not over. This is not going to be something that is simply put into practice without a fight. Folks are fighting the good fight in courts as we speak. And part of the danger here, and why this court case is really, really important, is because the way they are implementing it, and the way they are attaching it to Medicaid and Medicare dollars, is so that it can circumvent state laws. Their goal with this particular approach to trying to ban gender-affirming care for trans kids is to make sure that even states that have laws on the books specifically to defend the right for trans kids to receive proper health care, they just want to go over the heads of the states. They want to deny you your democratic representation by unilaterally subverting your elected officials. And I have a feeling that a number of the way that they tried to go about doing this, in my understanding, not a lawyer, is that this is going to present a number of different avenues for attack legally. And so my hope is that this is just too flimsy of an implementation to actually be put into law. Now, the reason they did this is because Marjorie Taylor Greene's bill passed the House with the assistance of 3 Democrats, Henry Cuellar, Vicente Gonzalez, both Texas Democrats, and a North Carolina Dem whose name escapes me, but he's some fucking asshole. And the reason the Trump administration opted to throw out this line of attack is because it appears that that bill is going to die in the Senate. Yeah, Don Davis. Thank you, Superjet Guy. So they did the next best thing and tried to do it this way. Now, because it is not going to get through Congress, this particular method involves a lot more legal risk, and also it remains to be seen how SCOTUS might rule if this goes up to the Supreme Court. It could very well be that the Supreme Court sides against trans kids. That would not be overly shocking. However, in the past, this court has ruled somewhat in favor of trans people. Somewhat. So it's kind of a toss-up which way it goes. My best guess, if you put a gun to my head and asked me to make a prediction, would be that, Chief Justice John Roberts is not going to like the way that they tried to implement this ban because of the states' rights issue. John Roberts is not a guy who particularly cares about trans people, but he is a guy who gets real fucking weird about the way you try to argue in front of the Supreme Court. So it'll depend on the day. It'll depend on how he's feeling. But the fact that this is limited in scope to trans kids does make it more of a 50-50 than I would like. That he could go in favor or against. And that is really, really scary. Now, additionally, folks, one of the things that the White House put out today, new rules bar hospitals from performing sex-rejecting procedures on minors, and importantly, a Section 504 update clarifying gender dysphoria isn't considered a disability, interesting, and also FDA warning letters to companies marketing breast binders to children. Now, that's a weird one, right? Like, that's a really, really odd decision to try and go after the manufacturers of chest binders. Now, for those of you who don't know what a chest binder is, it's basically like a chest compressor. It compresses your chest. It is a piece of, shapewear, essentially. And the purpose of a chest binder is to make your breasts smaller. It does what is advertised. And the issue here is that this includes stuff that cis people wear too. Like, if a sports bra, a bra that is designed to compress breasts so that you can exercise, is technically a chest binder. This is really bizarre, but the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, has actually begun issuing these warning letters to various companies. Here's one directed towards Tomboy X. And it's bizarre. Okay? The argument here is that because chest compression can be used for medically necessary procedures or recovering after surgery or whatnot, that the use and selling of chest binders that children could possibly buy somehow is an illegitimate use of medical equipment. And thus they must stop selling chest binders. So I'll just read through this one, and it's emblematic of others that have been sent out. December 16th, 2025. Dear Fran Dunaway, the United States Food and Drug Administration has reviewed Tomboy X, PBC's Your Firm website, tomboyx.com, and observed that your website offers various breast binders for sale. Under Section 201H of the Federal Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act, the Act, 21 USC, these products are devices because they are intended for use in the diagnosis of disease or other conditions, or in the cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease, or to affect the structure of any function of the body. So, again, if you're saying any kind of clothing that could affect the structure of the body, that's are you gonna issue a cease and desist for high heels? Are you gonna issue a cease and desist for corsets? Where does it stop? I'm pretty sure Tomboy X doesn't even advertise to minors. They don't. The entire argument here is that a minor could potentially find Tomboy X on Google and buy a binder. And that, no. That was an illicit use of medical technology. What about the underwear that guys wear to make their dicks look bigger? No, it's fine. That's just dudes being dudes. That definition stretches to bras and Stanfields. It does. Like, none of this makes a lick of sense. And like, if we were to take this seriously, if we were to actually like put through this into policy that is widely accepted, you would not be able to buy, like, we'd be back to like the 1950s. We'd be like in the era of women can't wear pants because those are made for men. Like we're going back to 3 strike laws regarding how many pieces of masculine or feminine clothing you're allowed to wear based on your genitals. Oh yeah, no, savvy cause. Yeah, of course it suits these ghouls just fine. But I have a feeling it doesn't suit most people just fine. Are they going to ban push-up bras then? Nah, of course not. Because these people are hypocrites and don't like you have to understand they aren't coming at this. They aren't coming at this with the goal of like implementing a sweeping regulation that applies to everyone. They're just coming at this specifically to attack trans people. And they're going to try and use any kind of leverage they have against trans kids against trans adults too. Our review of your firm's website revealed statements that these breast binders, example, trade names, compression top black, racerback compression top chai, V-neck compression top white, are intended for use in the diagnosis of disease or other conditions, or in the cure, mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease, or intended to affect the structure of any function of the body, including, per your firm's website, many individuals who identify as transgender, non-binary, or gender fluid utilize chest binding as a way to help manage their own dysphoria. Which I want you guys to keep in mind. They issued these letters while also saying that they are changing Section 504 to say that gender dysphoria isn't considered a disability. So if it's not considered a disability, what grounds does the FDA have to limit or try to stop the marketing of chest binders? None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense except unless you are a bigot. Unless you are a bigot and you're like, oh, well, obviously I hate trans people, so this all checks out. Our review also revealed statements that you manufacture these devices within the meaning of Section 510 of the Act. E.g., we pay obsessive attention to every design aspect, leaving no detail overlooked so that our community can live and experience a life unbound. Under Section 510 of the Act, manufacturers of medical devices are required to annually register with the FDA. Because they're trying to argue clothing worn on your chest is a medical device. They're trying to argue that bras are medical devices. They think this right here is a medical device. Like, I'm sorry, but if compression, like chest binders and compression tops are medical devices, are you gonna start like arresting like cis men who are wearing compression tops when they work out? Are you gonna start arresting like anyone who wears a bra in the United States? Like if a trans woman wears a bra, is that an illicit use of a medical device because clothing is just considered a medical device now? If bras are medical devices, can you bill Imogene Olivia lingerie? ImogeneOlivia.com, gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Check it out today. Link down in the doobly-doo. Can you bill your insurance for Imogene Olivia lingerie? Who knows? Yeah, no more sports bras, ladies. This is just AI slop in legislative form. I have no doubt. In September 2007, Section 510 of the Act was amended by the Food and Drug Administration Amendment Act of 2007 to require domestic and foreign device establishments to submit their annual establishment registration and device listing information to FDA by electronic means during the period beginning October 1st and ending December 31st each year.
Not gonna lie, chest binders and compression tops sound like terms used on Little St. James.
Boo! Boo! No! Get out of here. Stop it. Our records indicate that you have not registered or listed these devices for fiscal year 2026. Therefore, the devices are misbranded within the meaning of Section 502 of the Act. In that they are manufactured, prepared, propagated, compounded, or processed in an establishment not duly registered under Section 510 of the Act, and were not included in a list required by Section 510 of the Act. Your firm should take prompt action to address any violations identified in this letter. Failure to adequately address this matter may result in regulatory action being initiated by the FDA without further notice. These actions include, but are not limited to, seizure and injunction. Other federal agencies may take your compliance with the FD&C Act and its implementing regulations into account when considering the award of federal contracts. Please notify this office in writing within 15 business days from the date you receive the letter of the specific steps your firm has taken to address the noted violations, as well as an explanation of how your firm plans to prevent these violations or similar violations from occurring again. Include documentation of the corrections and/or corrective actions which must address systemic problems that your firm has taken. If your firm's planned corrections and/or corrective actions will occur over time, please include a timetable for implementation of these activities. If corrections and/or corrective actions cannot be completed within 15 business days, state the reasons for the delay and the time within which these activities will be completed. Your firm's response should be comprehensive and address any violations included in this warning letter. If you believe that your products are not in violation of the FD&C Act, include your reasoning and any supportive information for our consideration as part of your response. Your firm's response should be sent via email to CDRH enforcement@fda.hhs.gov. Please include the subject line CMS 720849 when replying. Finally, you should know that this letter is not intended to be an all-inclusive list of the violations at your firm's facility. It is your firm's responsibility to ensure compliance with the applicable laws and regulations administered by the FDA. Your firm should investigate and determine the causes of any violations and take prompt actions to address any violations and bring the products into compliance. Sincerely yours, Michael J. Hoffman, Director. I do want to say it's pretty rich to send a warning letter while saying, look, also, we might not have gotten all of them, but, figure it out, bitch. And then just sign at the end. This is the American government. This is the FDA. This is the Food and Drug Administration. It's disgusting. It's genuinely disgusting. Response, eat shit. I mean, in a just world, that should be the legal response. Yeah. My response would be, they are literally bras, fuck you. Yeah. So that's kind of where all of this stands. And that is not, by the way, the only group that has been targeted. Others that have received warning letters include Trans Guy Supply, Shapeshifter Apparel, UNTAG, Fluxion, Genderbender, Flavant Streetwear, Early to Bed, Tom Scout, and For Them. So a lot of different chest binding companies or chest binder companies or companies that just happen to sell chest binders have all been attacked, essentially, by this administration. So, I can definitely see this as a test case for them to see what they can get away with. This is seriously not good. I mean, my hope is that these companies will unanimously reject this and fight this in court. But also, guys, my partner launched Imogene Olivia. It is a company designed to make underwear and lingerie for trans femmes, right? It is difficult to run a company that makes stuff by and large for trans folks. You're not gonna have a company on the scale of like Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret has the resources to fight this tooth and nail, but perhaps Tomboy X has resources. They're relatively recognizable, but I'm not entirely sure about most of these companies.
I'm pretty
and
sure
their
shapewear
resources.
has been used in theater for the entire history of theater too. I just assume, big scary term, just freaks no research people out.
Oh no, of course, yes. Like it does. It's all just like, oh, what could it possibly be? But this is again, it doesn't make any sense unless you're a transphobe, right? Like, this is not intended to be implemented uniformly. This is intended to be implemented with the express intent to discriminate against trans people. You know, they're not going to go after Hollywood, costuming agencies. They're not going to be going after, Victoria's Secret. They're not going to be going after, sports bra manufacturers. They're not going to be going after Under Armour. They're going to be going after small, vulnerable companies that focus exclusively on trans people and providing services for trans people. And they're going to be doing it with the understanding that, like, they're looking for the big scary term, the one that they can other sufficiently. And obviously I look at this and I'm like, this seems like an open and shut case. But I'm going to guess that the entire strategy for litigating this is going to be trying to run these businesses out of existence by just burning through their supply of money. The United States government has a lot more resources at its disposal than many of these small companies do. And their goal is going to be, one by one, to try and isolate and shut down these companies. And it's scary. It is really scary. Because not only does that, implode the small but growing sector of businesses that have just begun to come out of the woodwork to cater to trans people and trans needs, but also it is going to deny trans people and trans kids the ability to have affirming clothing. It's really, 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 it's just really an awful situation. And so I'm glad that an organization with resources to fight this particular implementation, like the ACLU, is stepping in to fight. Because keep in mind, this entire targeting of companies like Tomboy X is being done under these guidelines from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the White House. And if the ACLU can overturn this particular federal order, then it is also going to be able to overturn the attempt to crack down on businesses for, again, selling clothing that is normally freely purchasable by cisgender people of all ages. So, in conclusion here, it is a terrible, terrible day for trans people, and especially for trans kids. So if there are trans kids or trans teens in your life, please reach out and check to make sure that they're doing okay. And let them know that you're going to be there for them and that you're going to help keep them safe. Because I'm not going to lie, it's really fucking scary to be trans in America right now.
That's what my point was trying to be earlier, and my 6 a.m. ad brain in Paris skipped the whole big scary word cudgel and sounds like out of context parts person facepalming.
Oh god, Sake. Well, I hope you're having a good time in Paris, though. Thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs, and understand. I understand. No need to apologize. It just, yeah, check in with the trans folks you know and love, because it's, I do this for my job. I stare into this abyss every day, and it takes a toll. It really takes a toll, and it hurts, and it's scary. And when I think, like my reaction to this makes me want to crawl into a hole and just, like, shut out the world, for the next several weeks. But I don't do that, and I keep coming out here to smile and joke and tell you guys the horrors of the world. Because I hope that in some small way it helps you guys feel better, that it informs you guys better, and that it spurs you guys to take action. And one of the ways that you can take action is by getting involved in your local community to radicalize your local Democrats to make sure they aren't flipping on trans kids. Because we know some Democrats are flipping on trans kids. And it also means getting involved with your local DSA and making them more effective, like the New York City DSA. It means putting in the work because there are people that are more vulnerable than us. You know, if we're trans adults, there are trans kids who have even less power than we do. And so I think we all owe it to the least of us to do everything we can to build a better world where they don't have to wake up every day and feel scared the way a lot of us have to. So if you need help organizing, join our Discord. Reach out to Dragonfly for help radicalizing your local Dems. She has graciously offered her time and energy to help you know how to contact your local Dems and how to interact with them to get the optimal results, to make them a better party and a more progressive party in your local area. And not only that, you can reach out to Gamergy over in the Discord as well, and Gamergy will help you make your local DSA more effective. Okay? It is really important that we do the hard work. And folks, last but not least, hit that like button if you got anything out of this. Hit the follow button. Leave a comment. Comments longer than 8 words really help videos do well in the YouTube algorithm. And I guess last thing for real, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. My partner realized that, you know, after seeing me trying on lingerie and feeling just absolutely defeated, realized that there was really not much out there for beautiful femme lingerie for trans femmes. And so she made a business to create gender euphoric lingerie that is non-tuck. And we also tested it with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks to try and get the best fit we can. So check out ImogeneOlivia.com. New colors and styles are going to be coming real soon. And link down in the doobly-doo. So let's keep on going. And one last thing for trans kids. Don't give them what they want. Survive.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, dating, plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.